record. Let's get to it. Of course, my cats came in here right as I started. Now they want attention. Alright. So this one's mostly done. Let's do this. UVs for the normal. There we go. So, Allo, or rather EPAN, was already done. So I'm going to start on something new. Where's the sunlight? I gotta spin this around. There you go. Hello, hello. How you folks doing? Thanks for joining the stream. So as the title suggests, rigging animation and UV fixing, there was a problem, or actually a series of art problems discovered some time ago on Pangea, and they're going to take a while to fix. If we want, a more optimized game and physics that actually are, easy to control. So, even though this is going to be a long journey because there's so many assets that need fixing because we have so many dinosaurs, I have basically been able to boil it down to some easier ways of working. So, I'm going to start with merging UVs. Hey, moderator, how you doing? Let's see. So, first I'm going to save one of the UV maps for this. This Utah is all one model, so this should be easier to do. So I'm going to create a second UV map just so it's easier, so I can preserve the data if I need to. And I'm going to switch over to UV editing. Actually, no, I'm going to go to default because I got a UV window here. So first thing I want to do, see, before I was trying to get like textures all baked down into one so I could have little, basically not have to change the UVs crazy amount on everything, but that's not going to work, so I just decided it's fine, change the UVs on everything, because this game needs to be optimized. We are going to get Rugops in there, don't worry. Rugops will be in there. Probably, actually, I think I have a set of releases and one of these contains Rugops, so let me see. Rugops is he's a finale type character, or inclusion, so he's at the end. Alright, So we got this whole set of UVs, and obviously not everything works well together. What the heck is this? Yeah, we're not doing that. So we're going to do this and find out. Okay, so there are our teeth textures. We're going to get our material for this. You know what? Utah might not be the best place to start on that. Utah will probably not be the best place to start on this because Utah was already undergoing some changes and they were different, so I'm going to have to re-rig Utah at a separate time. But a perfect place to start would be one of the Tyrannosaurs. I'm going to start on the Boss Rex. Yes, the game is coming back. There's some difficulties with my computer right now, which make it very difficult to develop, especially in Unreal Engine. But, you know, I expect to get a new computer not too far hence, and also can't just leave the game in limbo. So, let's get off of these morphs. We'll go to the base one. UV map 2. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with this is we are going to take the body UV, so all of this here, and using the cursor we're going to scale it down by half. And then this really works for Pangea just because, you know, we have such our texture quality isn't bad at all. It's just, you know, not top quality. Okay, then we take the iris. So I need to put a plane down real quick. And project it on the UVs. I believe the iris is here on this corner. So let's find the eye. And using that, we're going to scale it down by half. The teeth, we're going to use, I believe it's this corner. Yeah, we're going to use this corner and scale the teeth and their UVs by half. And so, I don't think this Tyrannosaur has anything else, so let me just take this part of the body, which is on the same UV coordinate, these osteoderms, and scale them down by half. Okay, so that's every major part of this T-Rex that I need to do for this example. And if you'll notice, looks a mess. That's not right, and it's not about to be. Can't take this and make it the correct design for this Rex because we just messed up its UV coordinates. Well, now we double the UV size, or sorry, the texture size for everything. Then we add 5 and 5 to all of them. And double this one, 5 and 5, or 0.5, excuse me. And so now it's aligned. But why would we do that? Why would we scale in the UVs and then double the size of the textures so we could line them up? Well, because we need to get all of this on one material. So a big problem I did with Pangea was all the dinosaurs have at least 3 materials. Generally, they have between 3 and 5. Every one of those materials increases the amounts of draw calls, which means the more of that... Stop biting the box. Cats. The more of those materials on the screen, the more difficult it's going to be to reach. Stop with the box, Frankie. Whew. So the more it's going to have to render, which means the more of those dinosaurs you have on the screen, it's going to really start to eat up resources, which is why, if you've noticed in Pangea, we don't usually have that many dinosaurs on the screen at one point, and when we do, the frame rate is suffering. So this is one more way of trying to bring that in. So by getting all of these condensed down into one material, we are saving space on that one. And so, yeah, this wasn't the ideal way to do this. Obviously, you'd want to do this, in the design process. But if we don't want to have to redesign all of them and remap all of the textures and UVs, then this was the way to go. And I'm fine with it because our game does not have incredible texture density. So now we have an issue where if we put the Tyrannosaur teeth on the body, well, the material doesn't match up because now it looks like skin. Hey, Zeno, how you doing? I'm great. Family's great. Cats running around like crazy because they're hearing me talking now, so that means it's time to bother me and want attention, which is fine. But how are you doing, man? Let's see, Art Depot. Model Depot. Okay, so we've done that for the body of the Tyrannosaur. Now we need to mask out everything that's outside of that quadrant. So that's what I'm doing with these here. Might have to look and see how I did this with the aloe just to make sure it is done really, really well. Okay. So this will look weird in Blender, probably because just the normals. But we're not going to pay attention to those right now. We're going to pay attention to other things. Although maybe we could turn it on here. Okay, maybe that'll work. Maybe that's what I needed it to do. Yep, okay. So now it's solid black because it's outside of that boundary of this white quadrant here. So now we take this and add a new teeth texture. It's still going to give a weird normal look, so I'm just going to turn off normals for the sake of this. Just know it's going to look fine in Unreal. So now we've got that new teeth texture, but it's not lined up. Like, you can see the teeth kind of look weird, so we have to do that same thing. And now the teeth are lined up. So if you see what the process is going to be from here, you can kind of guess how many things have to change. So now we need the teeth mask. We do the same thing with it so that it shows up and the body texture show up. So to give you guys an illustration of what's going on here, I'm going to switch the material on this guy to the Tyrannosaur body, and you'll see that the two quadrants we have filled out are now displaying textures, and everything else, well, it doesn't have to be pink, it can be black. Everything else is not showing anything. So now we add another texture. This one is going to be for the eye. Let's see. And we do the same thing with it, double its size, and then move it over. And now it is displaying here until we put a mask for the eye, which is this one. So we use that. And now we can take the eye mesh. Oh, sorry, let me get out of pose mode. We take the eye mesh. Yep. And we switch its texture to Tyrannosaur body. Actually, and what we're doing here, we are going to, I like this idea at first, but it's just going to be too much of a hassle to keep up with. So I'm getting rid of the cornea material because honestly, it doesn't serve a purpose. You can't really see it in the game, and it's just kind of getting in the way. Hi, Jamie. Or sorry, I forgot. Is it Jamie or Jaime? please let me know because I want to be good with names. So now we move the last bit being this Tyrannosaur pupil. And for this, we can just, oops, let's reorganize the quadrants, or the cursor for the quadrant. All right, now what does that look like? Of course it looks wrong, because the eye texture is probably going to be more or less right. That'll do. Okay, Jaime. Thanks for joining, Jaime. So now we've got all of this Tyrannosaur's parts on one material. So when we export it out, it'll get rid of all those extra materials on there in Unreal Engine, which means that whenever this Tyrannosaur spawns, it'll be a lot more optimized. And because we didn't actually resize the textures, we're still getting good density on the design. Now, in Blender, or at least this older version of Blender, the normals for the eyes and the teeth will always look weird until I figure out how to block them out with something else, like a flat normal map maybe. Actually, let me see if I can do that right now. I don't know if I have a flat normal anywhere in here. I might have a flat normal in one of my other game folders. You know what, I'm just gonna take this and really like scale its size so it's basically flat. That'll do. Move it up into here, turn on its normal and see what happens. Nah, that didn't fix it, did it? That's a shame that the normals don't really work on the stencil map all that well. Oh well, but you get the point. So is this for UE4 or UE5? The crazy thing is I have Unreal Engine 5 like 99% built on this PC from source. Like I think it's 5.2 or 5.3. And yeah, it's 5.3. And it wouldn't finish compiling. So after about 2 days of it firing up my computer, I didn't want it to do any more damage, so I stopped. But the plan is absolutely to move it to Unreal Engine 5. There's some difficulty with that. And I think it will wait until my next computer upgrade, because as much as I would like to use Unreal Engine 5, the last time I tried to convert a project to it, I was struggling to get 45 frames per second. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into that of what could be done better to better optimize for Unreal Engine 5, but I don't really have time to remake all of my plant assets right now. So later is definitely a thing that I want to do, because there are some really good animation features in Unreal Engine 5 that I want to use. Just can't right now. So one of the reasons I really want to fix these rigs, like it's the most important thing to work on right now, is because there's so much to do with IK or inverse kinematics and physics that doesn't work, because although the dinosaurs look like they're the right scale in game, their bones are actually 100 times off from what they're supposed to be. And that's because Blender uses slightly different way of determining its units than Unreal or Maya. And so I found out how you're supposed to get around it. The problem with that idea is it breaks animations. And so it's part of the reason I haven't pulled the trigger on this yet. So I'm going to show you what I mean right now. So this T-Rex, look at it. He's really well animated. Actually, I'm going to turn off his normal, so he just animates really, really nicely. Um, we're going to turn it into a Macraensis real quick. Okay, so this T-Rex, look at him. He's animating nice. Actually, this animation sucks, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But how do I fix this animation when I'm going to have to apply the scale at 100 times what it is? Well, the first thing I need to do is grab this T-Rex. I don't really need to grab the mesh, but it's fine to do for the sake of a visualization so you can actually see what's going on. Take this mesh and this rig. I Control D, duplicate them, and put them on a second layer right here. So this is the size I want my T-Rex to be, but its size is wrong compared to Unreal Engine. And even here, you can see its size isn't even full 1-to-1 scale. It's 91% of its scale. So it's already not what it needs to be. So what I do is I go to my scene, and right now it's using meters. I need it to use centimeters. Now, when I use centimeters from meters, it actually, everything gets 100 times smaller. So what I have to do from there is once everything gets 100 times smaller, I scale it up times 100 and then hit apply scale. Now, watch what happens to the animation when I hit apply scale. So before, its strides were working just fine. Its head was bobbing up and down. Its hips were bobbing up and down. I apply scale, and it's like all of that went away, and the only thing that's still there is the rotation. Well, since the rotation doesn't need to scale, then it's actually working on the rotation part just fine. That's why the feet are going down. That's why the tail is bobbing the way it should be. The hips are swaying back and forth because they're rotating. But all that translation data, all that moving up and down, side to side, all of that is now gone. And so what I do is I take this rig, this secondary rig, I scale it up times 100 as well, but I don't apply its scale. So now it never has any issue with its scale. And then I go into the dinosaur's pose mode. This is, why did I make the rig this way? It's fine. It's just an illustration. So I go to copy location on one of the foot controls, and I choose what is called Rig Alberto 02 or 01. And then I find the bone that I want to copy from, which in this case is toe IK. Now you can see it's actually starting to move in sync with the other one. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but using the right bone. And now you can see the feet are actually lining up. So this is the one we're going to export into the game, and this is the one that we're just using as a copy to get the animation data. And so now we got one more issue. Actually, ooh, okay, I'm going to turn off this bone display the way it's being displayed because that looks ugly, and I'm not for that. Okay, now copy location. We're going to do the same thing. Rig Alberto 01, and the name is root. And so now it's properly copying the same part, and so that just leaves the head. We do the same thing with the head IK. And so everything now on this rig moves like it's on the other one. And so it fixes the scale and allows me to keep the animation, which is a big deal because I was really concerned that I was going to have to do every dinosaur's animation again. So the only thing now I have to be aware of is when I want to animate something differently, to just animate it on this skeleton, this old one, and this one will copy from it. And so that's all I need to do in order to preserve the animation. So now you've seen like the process of what I have to do in order to fix these dinosaurs with their materials, with their UVs, and with their rigging / animations. So imagine this, that work that I just did, but I got to do it on all of these. And there are variants inside of these folders. Actually, let's make sure that this T-Rex is saved, because I'm trying to see where one of the variants is. Ah, here we go. Torosaurus is a copy of Triceratops in this folder. So I won't have to do the rigging work twice, but I will have to do the UV work. So just wanted y'all to have like an idea of what's going to be happening for a while I get all this stuff sorted out. Because this is a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work. But it's my own fault. I did not check how many materials we were supposed to have on a single mesh beforehand. And for a game like mine where it's not like super photorealistic, then we don't want to be pushing things beyond their graphical limits when we don't need to. Like, we don't have crazy high resolution textures. We don't have super complex rigs. We don't have a lot of interactivity in the world just yet. We will. So making sure to fix these is very important to the performance of the game, because the game should not be running barely 60 FPS on my computer and then tanking as soon as more than 4 dinosaurs are shown on the screen. But another added bonus of fixing the rigs is not just the physics simulation of, say, a ragdoll, but the physics simulation of basically rigid body physics or jiggle physics. So muscle simulation. So I'm going to try and demonstrate that real quick of what that idea will look like on this Rex. So I've got this bone. I'm going to call it DYN underscore thigh underscore L. And then make sure that the right one has the flipped name. I'm going to take off all the constraints on it. And I don't want anything like crazy, but I just want to paint a little bit of influence from this bone onto the thigh. And also I need to make sure that it is following the thigh. Okay. So you follow the thigh as a parent. And so what I can do, and this isn't a physics simulation, this is literally just an animation version of that. But then every single time foot lands, I can have it do that. Now, you might be wondering, with the physics simulation that was going on, say, the tails in Pangea Survival, why would I be struggling to do this part in of physics simulation in Pangea? And that is literally because when your scale for your physics is off by 100 like mine was, and I'm sure a lot of other Blender developers have figured this out with Unreal Engine, or at least if you were using an older version of Blender, you certainly saw this at some point, then really only the chain of physics that you were displaying would work properly. So if I had physics on the tail, then the tail would look fine. But most of the dinosaurs don't have dewlaps, like physical moving dewlaps in game, because they wouldn't work right. Tarbosaurus was just some kind of outlier where its dewlap works and it has tail physics. But I tried it. I tried it a bunch of different ways, and there was no way to get the physics to behave properly as long as the scale of the skeleton was wrong. It also changes like the weight of things. So the tails are like thousands and thousands of pounds per bone. So, 10,000 on the base of the tail is insane for the weight when you're trying to just have something that kind of moves gently. And it also made it where they don't snap into place. So they always struggled to get back to where they needed to be, and they were really, really hard to control because the scale of the bones was wrong. And so by fixing the scale here, it frees up the rest of the body to be able to simulate physics in the same way. So now I can have tail simulation physics, I can have muscle simulation physics, and loose skin right here. So that is something that you can expect will actually go up with the introduction of these fixed dinosaurs, is that they're going to have light things like muscle simulation, and if it looks like they should have a throat waddle that moves, then they're going to. Trying to see with the Epan, one of the completed ones. So Epan, he really doesn't have a lot of moving parts, so you might just see the tail ripple and the back of the thighs, maybe the front of the thighs. That'll probably be the primary part of his body dynamics, but then like a raptor, like the Utah, the feathers will move too. Now, the feathers are already rigged, I believe. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I kept it simple. But I will rig the feathers, make sure that they flutter lightly, but try to follow mostly their animation pattern. And this will all now be possible because of fixing physics simulation through the scale. So there are a lot of dinosaurs to do. There were a lot of dinosaurs that I wanted to give this to sooner, but because of what it was going to require just to change, it never got dealt with. But now it's kind of like, if you don't deal with it, you're just kicking the can down the road, lowering quality and worsening performance. So every dinosaur is about to get this treatment. Every single one. Even the ones that are just AI are about to get this treatment. And when it's all said and done, I think everybody will agree it will have been worth it. It's just going to take a very long time to get there. So I definitely wanted to stream just to give this update. I don't have a real idea how long I'm going to stream tonight, but definitely wanted to spend some time focusing on this because I wanted to make sure it was clear what needed to be done. Because if I just post something in the Discord and I'm like, hey, I've got to redo 1,000 animations, then you're going to be like, well, what? Why? So I want to make sure that the why is very, very clear, is that this is to bump up the overall quality of everything. So even though I just did Epan and Tyrannosaurus, the release schedule, which I don't think I have made the release schedule public. I don't think I have. Let me look at it real quick. The release schedule for the first patch, or the first group, is going to be the same as it was when we started Chapter 2, which is Nothronychus, Pachycephalosaurus, Tenontosaurus, Kentrosaurus, Plateosaurus, Herrerasaurus, Utahraptor, Nanotyrannus, and Carnotaurus. That's release number 1. And I think I'll stop giving info at release number 3. So release number 2 is Styracosaurus, Stegosaurus, Iguanodon, Andysaurus, which needs to be remodeled, Troodon, Dilophosaurus, Epanterius, Deinosuchus, Hatzegopteryx, and Therizinosaurus. And then release 3, Mosasaurus, Gorgosaurus, Anatosaurus, Gastonia, Deinocheirus, Oviraptor, Diplodocus, Majungasaurus, Postosuchus, and Torosaurus. So, those are 3 releases. That's not anywhere near most of them, but just an idea of what to expect for the release schedule of these dinosaurs when I do get them out, because they're almost certainly going to come out in patches, and so it will suck that the roster has to shrink again, but they'll be much better developed. They're going to have much better features too. The game will use less and less memory as I remove old things that were not supposed to be there. So like a point that I've learned, obviously, since the last time I updated the game is if every bit of code in the game references something directly, then all of that has to load before into memory before it's in the game. So that means that they're one of the reasons Pangea uses up so much memory when you're playing it is because there's so much loaded at one point that doesn't need to be. And so definitely going to find ways to shrink that, and using blueprint interfaces to reduce the amount of direct references in every single thing. Like the character selection, it has a direct reference to every single thing, and it does not need to have those kinds of references. So when I change that, it's going to work a lot better. But it's obviously going to take a long time to change the menu because you got to hand change every single dinosaur selection to make sure it still loads the correct dinosaur. But I know how to do it now. I've been doing it in other games. I've been working in Unreal for 8 years. So yeah, I mean, I know how to get the references properly now and make it as modular as possible so that it speeds up development. Because the first way I did this, when the game came out 5 years ago, I've been holding on to that just so I don't have to redo it. It's time to redo it just so it's easier going forward. But yeah, so I no longer animate on the skeleton that ends up getting exported. I'm going to animate on the skeleton that will not be shown in the export. So that way I never lose the animation data that I had before. Yeah, you never want to lose the animation data you had before if you can help it. But this way it doesn't get lost, and it can still reference the original and still be the correct scale, all that stuff. And because of the way that Blender exports FBX animations, it will just bake this on the export. So I don't even have to worry about how it's going to look. Let me see. I've never shown it, but we are going to get one singular animation. Where's our export window? We're going to use Rex full sprint. Okay. So that's what's being shown here, but of course it's copying this animation. So we're going to make sure it's also using Rex full sprint. Oh, this animation looks terrible. Why didn't somebody tell me it looks this bad? Use something else. Good Googa Mooga. Okay, we're gonna use the crouch. It looks bad because it's on a new skeleton that wasn't made for it, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so now this one is, sheesh. That's another issue of scale changes is you gotta extend your camera clipping or this happens. Okay, so we got this. It's just copying, and we are going to grab this plus all this extra here and export to FBX. I'm gonna put it in the Anim Depot, just regular here, Rex test. We're gonna do animation export, apply no modifiers, and just the inlay strip that we want. Okay, save that. Go to a startup file. We want to make sure the scale is the right way. There we go. Import the FBX from the Anim Depot. And extend our view. And there you go. So now all we'll have to do is literally just export the animation and it'll be right. Like, we won't have to worry about forcing it to be right, essentially, or redoing it later. It will always be the way it needs to be on export. So that's a big deal. It literally changes how I was going to do this, because how I was going to do this before was literally I have to bake every animation and tweak it manually, and that was not doable. Um, it probably would have been easier to just make brand new animations at that point, but we no longer have to do that. And this, I don't even know why I'm doing this, just because I have been for a while, but yep. You'll be able to get all of that physics simulation in there that you want. So yeah, this will be a million times better than what way I had to do it before. Oh, he just doesn't have proper materials, does he? Oh, it's because the masks are on. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if this looks right in Blender. I already know personally know the setup for using masks like these, and then shunting the texture into its own quadrant. I already know that because I've done that with my other game when I was trying to optimize the materials for that game. And so yeah, this will be some heavy work at the beginning, but eventually it'll start to pick up its own momentum. So I'm gonna do another dinosaur on stream just because I might as well. It's gonna happen anyway. I forget which acro is which. This is the old acro. This is the old one, which is really now Veturopristosaurus. So this is the acro we use now. Got to do the same thing. Honestly, I don't have to have their material set up in Blender. It's just, to make sure you didn't make horrible errors. Alright. Acro body. We select. Down into its own quadrant. The teeth. Oops. Did I already start fixing acro? Oh, that's gross. Alright, let's see. Yep, I already started fixing the stupid acro. Alright. And see, now I don't even know what the proper scale was, but it's fine. I'll probably just remake the teeth anyway, or re-import the teeth anyway. Where are the teeth? Here we go. Whew. That's a lot. Let's see if I can find out what the original scale was. Looks like the original scale was 150 maybe, but this is off by a little, so we're gonna find the teeth. That might be right. But now we put it into their proper quadrant, which I guess if the teeth look weird, it's fine. As long as the body and the iris don't, because we can fix all that later. Let's see. We're just going to do one texture because we're not recreating things here. Darn it. Fix the scale first. Oh, it's already it's already what it needs to be here. Okay, so we got that. We can do the same with this. Not 50 meters. All right. Yep, that looks good. Fix this iris. It does not have to be exact, just an approximation of where the original eye was. Yep, that looks right to me. Or about right. We put it right there. And then the eye quadrant is the top right. All right. So now we just add in the eye right here. There we go. Eye looks good. We add in the teeth here. If we turn off the eye, the teeth look good, real good. Yeah, they may not need any fixing besides that. And then we gotta shunt in one more texture above the teeth. All right. Body mask. Teeth mask. Eye mask. Okay. Alright, and just so we can see a representation of what we're doing, we're going to put it on the plane as well. And so, yep. Yep, there we go. And the acro is ready from a material side. Now, was its scale applied? Thank God it wasn't. Oh yeah, the acro was, I was starting on some strafe animations for this guy. That's for that new combat system. Alright, so what layers are we on? This needs to go here, be in the same layer. Then we take all this info, duplicate it, and move it to here. Now, with all this looking right, and our scale is indeed set to centimeters, correct? Or our units. Scale. Okay, so this is one of those examples where it didn't really do all that much to break things. So let me make sure, because it should have broken it way more than that. Meters. There we go. Okay. Oops, I don't need keying on. Scale it up by 100. Do the same with this little guy. If I'm fixing all the animations, I might as well fix the skeletons, shouldn't I? Oh, that's going to be a nightmare if it goes wrong. But we're preserving none of the animation, so if it goes wrong, it doesn't really matter. Because those are the only thing that matters towards. Everything else is socket based, right? Okay. So we go back to this first layer. I'm going to rename all of my rigs to armature eventually, because that's something you need to do. Yeah, that's something you need to do. And then I won't worry about some stuff as much anymore. maybe I gotta make sure the hierarchies are all right. Okay. Scale, now it's broken. But this guy ain't, just like before. So we're gonna go copy armature, or copy rig. Doesn't really matter what his name is, as long as it has one that we can find. Copy location, copy rig, root. Same with you. Copy location, copy rig, foot IKL. Copy location, copy rig, foot IKR, and copy location, copy rig, head IK, control. And there we go. Acro is fixed. So, did all the interesting stuff. And probably the rest of it's going to be like this. So, if you see me stream more with this stuff, it's going to be a lot of me being quiet and just working through it because it needs to be done. It's a shame that it has to be done, but look, it works, so it's better than it not working. Yeah. But with this way, all animations can keep their original, proportions, strides, all of that stuff without having to redo them all, which I was really dreading that idea. I'll do, I guess, one more, and it'll be from the first group, Tenontosaurus. I love Tenontosaurus. And this was the first one I tried to test a different idea on. So it's fitting that it would be one of the ones that receives the proper update. Okay. Also, I'll be optimizing the material for the dinosaurs in engine, because I feel like it's a big bloated mess. Okay, let's fix this just like we did the other one. It says centimeters, but it means meters. Okay. View, create a plane. Okay, well, got a few things to fix real quick. Alright. Okay, what have we got selected? Just the body, and then the eyes, because it doesn't have teeth. Ooh, this is an easy one. Use the cursor. Now that looks good. All right. Now do the eyes, which I gotta get rid of the cornea first. Put it on a lower layer where it definitely doesn't need to exist anymore. So that's all we have to do until we get to the pupil, which maybe I can go ahead and deal with that. body. Why is it taking so long to remove materials? Sheesh. Okay. We don't need all of that. Yeah, we don't need that. We can always edit materials in the engine. Okay, so we only need 2 for this. Those being the body mask and the eye mask. We throw the eye in here. And then we turn on our stencil maps. Huh, how did it lose this? Okay, can you stop referencing the pupil and go to the iris? Okay, both of them are lost. Wonderful. Alright, there we go. Alright, turn off the normal so we can see. Now we fix the pupil. There we go. Tonanto is ready to go from a material standpoint, and we just need to scale up its rig by 100. And then scale up the false rig. Ew, there's a Carno in here. Let's move these guys to another layer on the bottom. And duplicate this guy and put him in the second layer. Alright, now that everything's the size it needs to be, scale. Now it's broken as we expect, but that's okay. So we're going to call this copy rig. Why do I keep spelling rig with a capital I? Okay, there we go. This will be the last one in the evening, because I mostly wanted to show you guys. Why are there 2 copy rigs in here? Does it matter? Okay. Root. Alright. He's okay. Copy rig. There we go. Copy rig. That will have to be fixed too. But now we can actually fix it without losing animation. Hand IK control bar. Copy location. Copy rig. Control L. Almost there. One more. Is there an ecosystem where an Abelisaur is apex other than Madagascar? Trying to remember because I feel like there is. Sure, Titanovenator was an apex. I don't know. Did it have contemporaries? Like bigger contemporaries? I mean, no way it had Spinosaur or Carcharodontosaur contemporaries in the late Maastrichtian. So, definitely Titanovenator is an apex. Okay. So we got this. It works. And you know what? I need to check it against some other stuff because there are some root motion animations for the Tenontosaurus. So let me check what those look like. So what attack is that? Tail Slam? Oh wow, that looks terrible. What does Tail Slam look like on you? Yep, that's why. The entire animal is rotating. So now we need a different type of constraint. Not a bone constraint, but an object one. Copy transform. Oh, no. Don't want to do copy transform because that'll copy the scale. There we go. And let's just make sure that they both line up identically. They don't because of pole vectors. So let's just do the pole vectors too. Copy location. Okay, well, first let's do all of the names. Make sure everything lines up perfectly. It does. So that's just the kind of stuff that has to be taken into account when trying to fix these rigs. This animation looks so janky in Blender, but it works so well in Unreal. Magic of technical animation. Okay. Any ecosystems where Megaraptorans are the apexes? Are apexes, not the apexes. Isn't there one in contemporary with Spinosaurus where it has a potentially 40-foot long Megaraptoran? I think so, but I can't remember the name of the creature off the top of my head. Alright, so that looks fixed. I'm trying to see if there are any other ones that use... I would like for this to copy that, but looks like I'll just have to manually set both of them whenever I change an animation. Oh, you meant the Apex? I don't think there are anywhere where a Megaraptor is the Apex. I mean, there is one where it's at the top of its food chain, but it's still not like Apex sized, and that's in Australia. The Winton Formation. Australovenator is the top predator. I mean, technically, in real life, it's the top predator. In Pangea, it still has to compete with Rapator. Oh, this is the wrong rig. I keep trying to fix this. Okay, YouTube. Alright, that should be enough. That's all the major moving parts of the Tonanto. Definitely an explanation for why it takes so long. So yeah, that's it. So that's the stuff I'm going to be working on for a while we get the roster out. But I talked about it earlier in the stream, the first 3 releases of the roster. It largely coincides with a lot of the playables so far, but all of them are going to get temporarily removed while we fix each and every rig, because it's kind of a travesty that this went without being dealt with for this long. But you know what? You live and learn. So I've got hundreds of animations to check on several dozen models. So yeah, I'm gonna take it slow with Raptor, Tenontosaurus, and that other first release, and then get everybody back up to speed. And so you'll see all the physics and all the optimizations coming through bit by bit by bit. So thanks everybody who joined this stream. I really appreciate it. I know this wasn't a long one, but this wouldn't be one you just want to probably sit through for a while. So hopefully by the time I get my next stream up and running, we'll be back working in the engine, actually dealing with interesting stuff to see. So really, really appreciate everybody stopping by. And yeah, glad you all wanted to see this update. I'm glad everybody's still excited about the game. I'll be updating it way more. Even if it's just stuff like this, like letting you know that this is what's going on, just so you have an idea of where the game is. So appreciate everybody stopping by, and I will catch